Hi. Today we're going to read the hope of the prophets of the exile, the 6th century BC, starting with Obadiah. Obadiah, verses 17 to 21. And in Mount Zion is where those escaping will prove to be, and it must become something holy. And the house of Jacob must take possession of the things for them to possess. And the house of Jacob must become a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau as stubble, and they must set them ablaze and devour them. And there will prove to be no survivors to the house of Esau, for Jehovah himself has spoken it. And they must take possession of the Negeb, even of the mountainous region of Esau, and of the Shephelah, even the field of Samaria. And Benjamin must take possession of Gilead. And as for the exiles of this rampart, to the sons of Israel will belong what the Canaanites possessed, as far as Zarephath. And the exiles of Jerusalem, who were in Shephard, will take possession of the cities of the Negeb. And saviors will certainly come up onto Mount Zion, in order to judge the mountainous region of Esau, and the kingship must become Jehovah's. The hope of Ezekiel, from chapter 34. Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy, and you must say to them, to the shepherds, this is what the sovereign Lord has said. Woe to the shepherds of Israel, who have become feeders of themselves. Is it not the flock that the shepherds ought to feed? For this is what the sovereign Lord Jehovah has said. Here I am myself, and I will search for my sheep and care for them, according to the care of one feeding his drove in the day of his coming, to be in the midst of his sheep that have been spread abroad. That is the way that I shall care for my sheep, and I will deliver them out of all the places to which they have been scattered in the days of cloud and thick gloom. And I will bring them out from the peoples and collect them together from the lands, and bring them in onto their soil, and feed them on the mountains of Israel, by the stream beds, and by all the dwelling places of the land. In a good pasturage I shall feed them, and on Israel's high mountains their abiding place will come to be. There they will lie down in good abiding place, and on a fat pasturage they will feed upon the mountains of Israel. And I will save my sheep, and they will no longer become something for plunder. And I will judge between a sheep and a sheep. And I will raise up over them one shepherd, and he must feed them, even my servant David. He himself will feed them, and he himself will become their shepherd. And I myself, Jehovah, will become their God, and my servant David, a chieftain in the midst of them. I myself, Jehovah, have spoken. From Ezekiel chapter 37. And speak to them. This is what the sovereign Lord Jehovah has said. Here I am taking the sons of Israel from among the nations to which they have gone, and I will collect them together from round about and bring them onto their soil. And I shall actually make them one nation in the land, on the mountains of Israel. And one king is what all of them will come to have as king. And they will no longer continue to be two nations, nor will they be divided any longer into two kingdoms. They will no longer defile themselves with their dungy idols, and with their disgusting things, and with all their transgressions. And I shall certainly save them from all their dwelling places in which they have sinned. And I will cleanse them, and they will become my people. and I myself shall become their God. And my servant David will be king over them, and one shepherd is what they will come to have. And in my judicial decisions they will walk, and my statutes they will keep, and they will certainly carry them out. And they will actually dwell upon the land that I gave to my servant, to Jacob, in which their forefathers dwelt, and they will actually dwell upon it. They and their sons and their sons' sons, to time indefinite. And David my servant will be their chieftain, to time indefinite. I will conclude with them a covenant of peace. An indefinitely lasting covenant is what there will come to be with them. And I will place them and multiply them, and place my sanctuary in the midst of them to time indefinite. And my tabernacle will actually prove to be over them. And I shall certainly become their God, and they themselves will become my people. And the nations will have to know that I, Jehovah, am sanctifying Israel when my sanctuary comes to be in the midst of them to time indefinite. The hope of Daniel in Daniel chapter 10 and in chapter 12. I have come to cause you to discern what will befall your people in the final part of the days, because it is a vision yet for the days to come. And during that time Michael will stand up, the great prince who is standing in behalf of the sons of your people. And there will certainly occur a time of distress, such as has not been made to occur since there came to be a nation until that time. And during that time your people will escape, everyone who is found written down in the book. And there will be many of those asleep in the ground of the dust who will wake up, these to indefinitely lasting life, and those to reproaches and to indefinitely lasting abhorrence. And the ones having insight will shine like the brightness of the expanse, and those who are bringing the many to righteousness like the stars to time indefinite, even forever. And as for you, O Daniel, make secret the words and seal up the book until the time of the end. Many will rove about, and the true knowledge will become abundant. I did just want to mention that I remember as a witness studying the Watchtower publication on the book of Ezekiel, the one called The Nations Shall Know That I Am Jehovah How. But it wasn't until I had left the witnesses and read the book of Ezekiel in its entirety that I discovered the how. The nations will know Jehovah and how. From the readings that we just did, from the reading about Edom in Obadiah, you see the nations seeing Jehovah act in judgment against Israel's vindictive neighbors, the Edomites. Even though they were family, they were vindictive towards Israel, and God promised destruction to the people. Or they were going to know Jehovah by his dealings with his own people Israel, his mercy and his grace towards them. This was just a point I thought I would like to make. Next, we will continue with more prophets.